Let's say you are writing the Jamb exam and you came across this question. How will you solve it? It is very easy. Now let's solve together. The question says 1 grams, listen carefully, 1 grams of an oxide of a metal X. Alright, we were given the atomic mass of that metal X to be 64. We'll come to this. Just listen. Alright, they told us that 1 grams of an oxide of a metal X gave 0.8 grams of the metal when reduced with hydrogen. So listen carefully. What does the question say? The question says the formula of the oxide is. So how do we solve this question? This question is extremely very easy. Just listen carefully. So you can see that the question is asking us for formula. We'll come to that. But specifically the formula of an oxide. So this word in this question is very important for us to understand what it is. Now, whenever you hear oxide in chemistry, oxides are compounds. Listen, oxides are compounds that what? That contains oxygen with another element. Listen, that contain oxygen with another element, specifically just one element. So you can see that there is oxygen and just one other element. So oxides, majorly they are compounds that contains what? 2 elements. Do you understand? So just listen carefully. So in this question, we have to analyze the type of oxide we were given. You can see that in this question, they specifically said oxide of a metal X. We already know that whenever we talk about oxide, there is oxygen majorly. It's one of the major elements found in oxides. Are you there? Of a metal X. So there is a metal X. Alright, the element is not known, they just called it X. But they gave us the atomic mass, so with this alone, we'll be able to solve this question without stress. So you can see here that they just said oxide of a metal X, so it's going to be oxygen and that element X, or that metal X. So if they have said oxide of a metal Y, here will be Y. Are you there? If they have said oxide, now let's be specific. If they have said oxide of, listen, oxide of calcium, what would that be? The oxide will now be made up of calcium and oxygen. I believe you understand. Oxide of, let's say, sodium, which has this chemical formula to be Na. So it's going to be sodium and oxygen. I believe you understand what oxide of a substance means now. Because in the Jamb exam, they might just change the format. So you don't have to be confused. It's just listen carefully so we'll progress to solve this question. So moving further, what do we do to solve this question is extremely very easy, because from the question they're asking us for the formula of the oxide, because we already know that the oxide should contain X and O, but we have to know specifically the correct formula. You can see that all of the options are X and O, but we have to know specifically what numbers are attached to them. Just listen carefully. This question is very simple, because in chemistry majorly we have 2 types of formulas. We have what we call empirical formula of a compound, which is the simplest formula of a compound. That is the simplest way a compound can exist, whereby we have another formula which is called the molecular formula. Because in this question, they did not really specify which formula, if it's empirical or molecular, we're calculating for. But I'm going to tell you how to know exactly what to calculate for. In this question, we are asked to calculate for empirical. Why? Because if we were to be asked to calculate for molecular, they will give us a value in the question, and that value is called molecular mass. Please don't confuse it from atomic mass. If you were to calculate for molecular formula, you will be given what we call molecular mass. And in this question, molecular mass was not given. There is a confirmation that we use the pattern on how to solve empirical formula to solve this question, and it is extremely very easy. Just listen carefully. So moving further, what do we do? Just follow me, listen carefully. Solution. So the first thing we do whenever we want to calculate for empirical formula of a compound, we've agreed that we are looking for empirical formula, is simply to write out the elements based on what you've determined or the element present in the question. And the elements are element X, which is a metal, and also oxygen, all right, because since there is oxide, that tells us that, oh, oxygen must be present in the compound. So I've written out the elements. Now, moving further, listen carefully. We were told specifically in the question that initially the mass of the compound, the mass of the oxide of the metal was given to be 1 gram. So after the metal was reduced with hydrogen, don't get confused, we are not using hydrogen here. Hydrogen was just used to reduce the metal. You understand? Just listen. You don't use hydrogen here. You can see from the options now, there's nothing like hydrogen. So hydrogen was just used to reduce the metal. That's what it told us. Listen carefully, because at the end of solving this question, I'm going to give you all practice questions so you solve and provide the answer in the comment section. Meanwhile, I already have a full video lesson where I explained how to solve questions on empirical and molecular formula. So after watching this video, make sure you go watch those lessons on my channel. All right. So moving further, we were told that the mass of the full compound was given to be what? 1 grams. They now said that 1 grams of the oxide of the metal X gave 0.8 grams of the metal. Please listen carefully. So you can see here that specifically the mass of the metal was given to be 0.8 grams, because the next thing to write here is simply writing mass of elements. Please listen. After you've written out the elements, the next thing to write mass of elements, because in this question we were given our values to be in grams. So all those values are masses. But listen, in other questions, all right, on this aspect, these values that are expressed in grams can also be expressed in percentage. So here I'm writing mass of elements. In some other question whereby it was given to be percentage, here can also be in, I can change it mass to percentage. It's same thing. You don't have to be confused because it's very simple. Listen carefully. So we're told that the mass of the metal specifically, because this is the metal, was given to be 0.8 grams. Are you there? So I've written it. So listen carefully. And the mass of the compound in general was 1 gram. So I believe we can predict the mass of oxygen, because we need the masses of these two elements to progress in the calculation. It's very simple. Just listen. Just follow me. All right, I'm going to solve this in a box. All right, so I'm going to solve for the mass of oxygen in this box. So listen. So we have agreed that the mass of the full compound S and O, basically S plus O, is equal to 1 grams. I believe we've agreed this, right? And from the question, we're told that the mass of the metal specifically was 0.8 grams. All right, so the metal is X, so here becomes 0.8 grams plus O, which is oxygen, is equal to what? 1 G, 1 grams. I believe you understand what's happening. So let's make mass of oxygen subject to formula. So when we do that, it's going to be what? 1 grams. When it crosses the equality sign, is going to be, sorry, when 0.8 crosses, is going to be what now? Minus 0.8, because it was positive before when it crosses, it becomes negative. So mass of oxygen will now be equal to what now? 0.2 grams, all right, because 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2. So moving further, the mass of oxygen becomes 0.2 grams, all right. Moving further, the next step to take whenever you are solving questions on empirical formula is to now divide by atomic mass. Divide by what we call atomic mass. You are dividing both of the elements by their atomic masses. This is why the atomic mass of the metal was given to be 64. So 0.8 divided by 64. And it is very important for you to know the atomic mass of oxygen. In some questions you'll be given, some other questions might not be given. So it's important for you to know the atomic masses of the first 20 elements. So for oxygen atomic mass, it is 16. So 0.2 divided by 16. So let's press all of this in our calculator to get the answer to this question. They are all very easy. All right, so let's quickly input all of this into the calculator. Okay, so all right, so for the X is 0.8 divided by 64, that is 0.0125. So the value we got is 0.0125. So let's do the same for oxygen. Oxygen is 0.2 divided by 16. That's the same value. Wow, 0.0125. So the next step to take to solve questions under empirical formula is to divide through by the smallest. So you are dividing both values you've gotten by the smallest. And from the look of things, both of them are the same. So both of them are smallest. So then we divide by 0.0125 still. So when this divide this, we are getting 1, all right. When this divide this as well, we are getting 1. Hope you understand. Because these values we just got, they call it the mole ratio. These are the values that should be besides the elements. Just listen. So this is how I'll evaluate it. So this is for x. So we're having x1 and then we're having O1. Are you there? So you can see that the empirical formula of this compound will not be, listen, empirical formula EF will not be equal to x1 O1. Do you understand? Because you know 1 is negligible. Whenever you see 1 in a chemical formula, you can as well just remove it. So empirical formula becomes XO. I believe you understand. It's very simple. So with this, we've gotten the answer to the question to be option B. All right, you can see how it was solved and how the question was analyzed. So get ready for your own practice question.
Have more understanding about chemistry calculations and solving all of these type of questions. I already have them on the chemistry masterpiece, okay, which is calculations and keynotes in chemistry. So if you are preparing to write the Jamb exam, this book is very, very important for you. Now, for more information getting the chemistry masterpiece, do well to direct message me via my WhatsApp number. It will be on the screen.
Okay guys, here are your own practice questions. So you solve and provide the answer in the comment section. All right, all of these questions are very easy. You can see for question 2 is about percentage. So that place I wrote mass of elements. Since you are seeing percentage now, change it to percentage of elements. All right, it's very simple. Question 1 is almost like the one we solved, and I believe you'll be able to solve everything. Make sure you solve all of these questions and provide the answer in the comment section. If you find my video lesson helpful, make sure you click on the subscribe button to my channel and also share my lessons to your friends. Thanks for watching.